And Dr. Lucas is in the studio with us this morning. Good morning, Doctor. How are you?
Good morning, I'm good.
I understand you were just talking about being in Tucson.
Yeah, it's hot there.
Very, very hot there.
Hot there.
Yeah.
112.
Yeah, the literal
Coming back here is
Friday.
like I'm freezing now.
Yes. Well, let's. What are we talking about today? We started talking about this subject last week, right?
Yeah, and I looked at some other stuff because it was sort of interesting. The pancreas mostly makes digestive enzymes. So the majority of the pancreas makes digestive enzymes. The little cells in the pancreas that make insulin are called the islet cells because they look like islands. So the word islet comes from island. They were little teeny areas in the big pancreas. And the way they had to make insulin or had to obtain insulin was to block off the ducts that lead to the cells that make digestive enzymes. So they had to destroy most of the pancreas. And after they destroyed most of the pancreas, they were able to get these little islet cells and grind them up and inject them into people. And that happened in 1922. I guess there weren't any rules about research then. But because what they did was they took this dog and got his pancreas and destroyed all the cells that make digestive enzymes because you don't want to inject digestive enzymes into your body. And there was a kid that was 14 years old, and he had wasted down to 65 pounds because that's what happened back then when people didn't make insulin. They died. And so they injected, and of course he had a reaction to the insulin abscesses. And it lowered his sugar a little bit, but not very much. So then they refined it, tried to purify it more. And then his blood sugar came down and he did fine. He died of pneumonia later, but he didn't die of diabetes. So after that, Eli Lilly started making insulin in 1923. So that's pretty soon after, on the same time, pretty much. The pharmaceutical companies took over the manufacture. And of course, dogs are not in ready supply. Most people don't like the idea of killing dogs and getting their pancreas out. So cows and pigs were already being killed for food. So they took the pancreas from the cows and the pigs and ground it up. What's interesting is that pig insulin is very close to human insulin, but back then they had beef pork. It's called beef pork insulin, and it was all short-acting insulin at first. And then other companies made a long-acting insulin. Novo Nordisk did, and Lilly did, and they made longer-acting insulin. But some people feel like the short-acting insulin was probably better because they had to give it multiple times a day, and they kept up with it.
Their own self-monitoring was better.
Well, they couldn't monitor.
I mean, well, self-discipline, put it that way.
In fact, the urine test didn't come about for urine test for sugar that people could do at home didn't come back till 1955, and they had to boil the urine and do all kinds of weird stuff to check it for sugar. And of course, that got better and better with little dipsticks, for testing, but it still only had the urine sugar in it, not the blood sugar. So the first meter was in 1970. If you think about all that whole history of taking insulin and not checking your sugar, it just is horrifying, but it's better than dying. And I'm sure people learn from trial and error what to take, but they couldn't measure their sugar like they can now. It's very easy to measure sugar. The first glucose meters were huge and took a long time to get the result. And now you can get them in like 10 seconds. So it's come a long way. And this
but pre-meter, I guess you just had to go on how you felt.
Yes, and that's the way some people do now too.
Yeah.
They don't check their blood sugar. I don't feel like my sugar's high. So then what happened after the beef porks, a lot of people had trouble with that too, just like the guy that had the reaction to the dog insulin. Some people started having reactions to beef and pork insulin as far as being allergic to them. And so in 78 is when they started making human insulin. And they put the genetic sequence for human insulin in bacteria, and the bacteria manufactured the insulin. And so that's how they got that. And over time, they've done a lot with insulin. Mainly because the pancreas, when it makes insulin, puts it in the bloodstream directly. That's where the pancreas in your body is putting the insulin in, and it works very quick. So a person without diabetes keeps their blood sugar very close to 90 to 100 all the time, no matter what you eat. If you eat a Twinkie or cereal or drink orange juice, it's going to keep it the same.
Right.
If you inject insulin, you're putting it under your skin. It has to get absorbed, get in the bloodstream, travel all the way around your body, and then lower your blood sugar. So there's a delayed reaction.